Hello, my name is Carl. Welcome to my YouTube channel, but again, not to my workshop. Harry and I are out and about again. Today we're in Forres in the northeast of Scotland, which is our hometown. We're going for a cycle ride, one of our Sunday afternoon cycles, and the route that we're going to go on today is part of what's called the Darver Way, which was the old Perth, Inverness to Perth rather, railway line. And the section that we're on is the section that runs from Forres to Granton-on-Spey, and that's approximately a 700-meter climb, although we're not going to be going that far today, into Granton-on-Spey, which is about 23 miles away.
We're just
So that's right, Harry. Yeah, we're just going to go a little way, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to see if we see what we can find.
Yes, that's right, and we will find a few interesting things.
Like last time.
Yes, exactly.
See what we can find.
Railway heritage and engineering heritage, and some of the heritage from this area, which is rich in whiskey manufacturing. So we'll see something of that heritage as well.
So because there's a distillery just down, it's about maybe about half a.
No, it's about two or three miles. I think.
2 or 3 miles down there. There's a distillery.
That's right, there is.
We'll be stopping there. It's called Dyerstu Distillery. We'll be stopping down there, and then we'll continue to see what we can find.
That's right. As Harry says, we'll be stopping off at an old distillery, which is now a museum, although sadly closed. But we'll have a look around that. And we've got a few more interesting things for you to see as well. So this railway that we're on now was originally built in 1863. And then due to the beaching cuts, it was scheduled for closure in 1963 and was finally closed in 1965. But there's still quite a few bits and pieces of infrastructure of engineering interest along the way. So we'll have a look at a couple of those as we go along. So we both hope you enjoy it, don't we, Harry?
Yep,
and we'll speak to you again shortly.
Okay.
So you can see where we are here. The railway, the old railway line runs along there. That's the old track bed. And you can see up here the depth of the embankment that we're in, that was built to contain the railway. And I think this area here would have been a siding at one point. And behind me there was originally a bridge. There's a road, you can just about see a car in the distance there. The bridge was long since filled in, and new houses have been built in the last 20 years over in the direction where that car is. But as I say, there is a lot of other infrastructure that we can see. We'll only see a few bits and pieces today, but I hope you'll find it interesting anyway. So we're underway now. I don't know what this is going to be like, cycling along and trying to film at the same time. Might be a bit shaky, but we should be coming up to our first point of interest very shortly. There's Harry above, in front of us now. And any minute now, you should see, well, you probably already can see the first point of interest hoving into view. This is a bridge over the one of the many farm tracks that runs over this line. So we'll have a quick look at this bridge. There is another bridge further along this this track, which we like to call the bridge in the woods. So here we are. So I'll dismount my bike here and we'll have a quick look at this.
Fun fact, did you know that this bridge here that we can see is a typical Victorian bridge? It has been here for a long period of time, which shows you that the Victorians really knew how to build bridges.
They certainly did, Harry. This bridge has been here since 1863, and as you can see, it's still in very good condition, still in daily use as a farm track. Farmer takes his vehicles over there up into Sanker Wood, which is just beyond those bushes over there. So we'll carry on now onto our next point of interest. So we've just crested a small slope, and over in the distance there you can just about see the outline of a chimney, and it's just started to rain, which is not so good, but that chimney belongs to the Dallas Dew Distillery, and that is part of the whiskey making heritage in our part of the world. So we'll head over to there now and we'll give you a quick look around there. So we have arrived at the Dallas Dew Distillery, and here's a general overview of the buildings. Now, this distillery was built in 1899 and it stopped producing whiskey in 1983 as a commercial concern. It was then taken over by the National Trust and was run as a working museum for a while, producing whiskey. And Dallas Dew whiskey is very good. I can definitely confirm that fact. You can see there that pagoda, which is part of the malt storage, which is to provide a cool, dry atmosphere, plenty of ventilation. And that type of architecture, that pagoda style, is absolutely prevalent in whiskey distilleries all over Scotland, and especially in this Speyside region where there are many distilleries. And there you can see the chimney, which I'm sure powered some of the machinery back in the day when in the 1890s, when this was a going concern, in the early 1900s. But we'll have a look a bit further on into the distillery in a minute. So we've entered the grounds of the distillery now. That's the old workshop and paint store building there. Over here we have the duty-free warehouses or bonded stores where the barrels were kept, the whiskey barrels, after the product had been manufactured. They used to roll those barrels along these rails, and they're actually railway rails. And I actually wonder if some of these rails came from the old railway when it was decommissioned. Not something that you know, I would be surprised if they were. So these sheds were accessed obviously by these rails, and then over here we've got this interesting looking machine which we often stop at to have our brew, and you can see there our turmeric tea and our sandwiches. So this is almost like a forklift truck, but it was used statically, I believe, inside those sheds. So it's got casters on it to move it. And there's Harry. Here he comes.
What's strange is how it's been, I don't know why, but we just found it's been anchored to the ground.
That's right, yes.
So
well, it's got
these
jacks to stabilise it when it's being used.
It's still got a barrel on it. But
It has, that's right.
But the barrel's got...
What does it say on the barrel?
It says Dallas Dew.
That's right, so Dallas Dew Distillery. Dallas Dew means the Valley of the Black Water. Now this machine, I think, would have been used in those sheds. It would have been wheeled into position, and then its mains powered, or it's three-phase powered, so an old 440 volt plug there, or 415 volt plug. And then it's got an electric motor inside it to drive a hydraulic pump. There's the hydraulic lines coming out, and an explosion-proof starter for the motor there. And then the controls are up here. So the operator would have stood on that platform and another man to help him on the other side. And then we've got kind of a standard forklift truck type of mechanism in here. So a jack with a couple of pulleys on it and some wire rope to increase the stroke of the jack. That would have lifted up the barrel. And then you've got another pair of jacks here to lift the forks out to actually kind of offer the barrel up to the man who was probably standing on an elevated platform where the barrels were stored. And typically the whiskey was matured in these barrels, which generally speaking were sherry barrels, for about 3 years before it was considered ready to be sold. So there's a plaque on this machine, and I'm not sure if you can see that very well on the camera, but it says Ruck and Plant Services Limited, Thistle Engineering Works, Wishaw, Scotland. Serial number 7326, capacity 1500 pounds, and load centre 30 inches. So now we're at the base of the chimney that we could see in the distance, and I'm assuming that back in the day this was used to take the exhaust away from some kind of a steam engine that was probably used to power the machinery inside the distillery by line shafting, although in recent times the machinery was powered by electric motors. Now round the other side of this chimney is the worm.
So now we've got the chimney here, the worms. We have the spirit worm on our left, the washworm on our right.
So you can see that worms are made just like barrels, which shows the skill and art of the cooper as related to the manufacture of whiskey. So we'll go up now and have a look inside the worm. So we're now at the top of the worm looking down inside, and the worm is a condenser, and you can see there a big copper pipe running round the inside of the barrel, which is filled with water. And that big copper pipe comes from the still building, which is this building here. And if we go over to this opening, you can see big copper pipe comes from the still, runs down into the worm. So the spirit, which is vapor, when it comes through this pipe here, runs down into the worm, through that copper pipe in the worm, condenses back to a liquid, and then is extracted at the bottom of the worm. And we'll just show you the other one now, because this one has the water in it, but the other one's empty. So you can really see why it's called a worm, because of that spiral of copper pipe there, which as it spirals down, the diameter decreases as the spirit condenses and contracts as it runs down towards the bottom of the worm, where it's extracted as a liquid. And you can see there again the copper pipe work coming out of the still building, with an inspection plug there of some kind and a weld down there. So you can really see again not just the skill of the cooper, but the skill of the coppersmith was much in demand in whiskey manufacturing. And there we go, the worm.
Fun fact, did you know that the worm was used to cool down smoke and turn it back into water, because there was very cold water inside the tub and then, or the barrel, and then when the smoke or the steam went through the tube in the middle, the cold water would cool it down. This means the worm is known as a condenser.
So we're now at the base of the worm, and this big flange here is what connects to the worm tubing inside the copper pipe that runs through the cold water, and that then takes the condensed spirit down through this big valve and down into the next part of the process. So we're looking through the window of one of the distillery buildings now, and we can see this big mixing tub. They're known as tons in the whiskey industry, and you can see their electric motor driving through a gearbox, a mixing paddle, and down at the bottom is another motor which I think is driving a pump of some kind. Unfortunately, the museum has been closed since the onset of COVID, and after COVID it hasn't opened again. I do hope that it will open again someday, because it was very interesting. But unfortunately nowadays all we can do is come and have a look around the outside of the building, which is still, holds a great deal of interest. So here's another view of the pagoda that I was talking about before. That ventilation feature, which is part of the barley loft, not the malt storage, as I said before. So these architectural features are absolutely ubiquitous on distilleries up here in Scotland, and especially in Speyside, and that's to make a nice dry, cool environment for the barley loft. Even a nice little finial on the top there, look. They really knew how to do things in those days. So we're going to leave Dallesdew behind now and carry on our cycle journey. You can see up there, that's where the railway line would have been. That's the embankment. It's not too much of a stretch of the imagination to imagine that they perhaps loaded the whiskey barrels onto the train. One of the reasons that whiskey distilling became a business in the northeast of Scotland was the arrival of the railways. Whiskey had always been manufactured in this part of the country, illicitly it has to be said, But then with the arrival of the railways in the 1860s, when they got up to this part of the country, having been invented obviously in 1825, but by the time railway got up to the northeast of Scotland, we're talking about the 1860s. So by that point in time, the excise and customs men were able to get up here, and so local families, like the Grants, for example, landed families decided that they were going to have to go legit, and so they started to build distilleries like these. It became a massive business venture, and the advent of the railway also gave them a means to take their product down to the south and thence all over the world. So we're back on our merry way. Next stop, the bridge in the woods. So we're now in an area known as Newtile Woods, and there you can see the track bed of the Inverness to Perth Junction Railway, as it was called, heading towards Grantown-on-Spey, almost directly due south. And as we rotate round, you can see the wooded area there, and that's where we've just come from, which heads towards Forres and ultimately Inverness in the north. So we're going to have a look now at a piece of Victorian engineering and railway architecture that's lain hidden for quite a long time. You can't really see it as you cycle or walk or ride a horse over it, which is what the Darver Way is used for now. So we have to head down there where Harry is. So we'll venture our way down there and we'll show you this modest, but still, to my mind, amazing piece of Victorian engineering. Right, so away we go. This might be difficult to hold the camera as we go down here, but have you got a stick there for purchase, Harry? Yeah, that's good. Right, okay, lead on, sir. Oh, watch yourself, that's it, good boy. Down we go.
There's a few logs and trees that we have to climb over.
That's right, you go on ahead. That's it. You're the pioneer. And you can see up there, look, there's the embankment that the railway line used to run on. And that'll become even more apparent as we go further down this gully. Harry's chosen the path of least resistance. He's going to go around the obstacle instead of over it, using his brain there. Good solution to that problem, Harry.
We don't want to have to get caught in that fungi.
No, we don't. Why is he good to hang around with? Because he's a fun guy to be with.
Do you get it?
Fun guy to be with. Oh dear. Right. I think we should.
Dad's joke. It's one of Dad's dad jokes.
It is a dad joke, you know. I'm allowed to make dad jokes. I'm a dad. Right, yeah. Let's carry on underneath this one. This fence is made of catenary wire, which is probably from the original railway stuff. We'll see a bit more in evidence of that as we go along. There's where the railway line was, up there. Let's carry on. I think we're going to have to negotiate an old wire fence in a minute, so we'll probably turn the camera off at that point. Let's carry on anyway. Past this birch stump here. Right, we'll bring you back after we've negotiated this obstacle. So we've successfully negotiated the obstacle. We're going to head down now. You can probably hear the sound of running water, so all will become apparent very shortly. Ready, Harry?
Yeah.
Right, let's make our way down. I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to film. I might end up on my bum if I'm not very careful.
That's why we've got some sticks to help anchor ourselves down.
Yep. We'll bring them back, I think, when we get down to the bottom there.
Okay.
So this flowing water here is the Mosset Burn, which starts out life I'm just trying to think of the Ordnance Survey map in my head now. Starts off life to the west of here as the Altair Burn, and the Mossett Burn flows through up to Forres, through Sanker Loch, and then into the sea, or into the Moray Firth rather, at Findhorn Bay, just not too far from where the River Findhorn flows into there. So down here we've got this little culverted, unnamed stream. A lot of culverted streams on this railway line, as there are on most railway lines, I would imagine. So we're going to head across here now and show you something interesting. All will be revealed as we come round the side of these two trees. Well now, lovely stone wall which forms part of what we're looking at. Will you just look at that. Now, alright, it's modest in terms of railway architecture and Victorian engineering, but what a beauty. The bridge in the woods, as we like to call it. And you cycle over there without even realising you're crossing a bridge. There's the Mossett Burn running underneath. And if I show you down here, you can see, perhaps if I zoom in, it'll make it better. Even the stream bed is engineered. They built it with blocks. And there's some absolutely wonderful brickwork. Try and zoom in on it, it's not very good, but it's hard to see. The brickwork in that arch is absolutely beautiful. And another day we would maybe wade in there and show you it. But not today. And there's the Mossett Burn running off towards Forres. And there's Harry being attacked by brambles. So we'll follow this abutting wall round now, which forms part of the bridge abutment. And up here, another modest, if interesting relic. We've got one of the original fence posts, railway fence post. So that stood there for some years, at least since the late 1860s, I would say. I mean, it might have been replaced in the 1900s, but you know, it's been there over 100 years easily. What does it say on it? Let's see if we can see. Rowell, Aberdeen. So I'm assuming that's the foundry where it was made. It's got some sort of a key there, look. Holding this solid, it's not a tube, that's a solid piece of square section iron going into the ground there to bolster that post. And there are lots of these posts all along the line. See them quite frequently, and you know, whether they were original from 1863, which probably some of them are, you know, they're over 100 years old and they're still in use doing the job that they were designed for. It's quite difficult to get decent views of the bridge because of the amount of undergrowth and vegetation, but here's a view looking kind of alongside it. Some spalling there. I'm not a structural engineer, but I believe that's known as spalling. And there's the abutment. And this bridge has stood since 1863 and still doing the job it was designed for. That is the conveyance of passengers over the Mossett Burn. Now the Darver Way is looked after by an association of volunteers who keep the place clear and ensure that it's the upkeep is done on a regular basis. And I'm sure they've had structural engineers look at this bridge. But as far as I'm aware, it doesn't get any regular maintenance as such. And that doesn't look too clever there, does it, that bit? However, 1863 and still doing the job it was designed for. So here's where that culverted stream runs out from underneath the railway embankment into the Mossett Burn. And I'm sure that there are lots and lots of these little culverts all the way along, as there are on most railway lines. So we found something interesting to show you as we're walking along, just exploring this general area around the bridge. And we'll show you it once Harry catches up with us. We'll show you what we found. So what we found is something that you quite often find as you're cycling or walking along the old Inverness to Perth Junction Railway. And it's an old forged steel railway chair. So basically the steel hardware that was used to hold the rails in place, and which they were clamped to, usually with a wooden peg. So there we are. Now, I don't imagine that's been there since 1863. I should imagine the permanent way would have been maintained at regular intervals. But I mean, it must at least have been there since the 50s or early 60s. So you're talking 60 to 70 odd years old easily. And I don't think it would have been in that position that it's in now. It would have been kind of fore and aft. If I show you the track bed, you can kind of see that it looks as if when the rails have been taken up, when the line was demolished, it's just been tossed to one side and left there. But quite an interesting little find. Well, I thought I'd come into the workshop to finish this video off, and I really hope that you enjoyed Harry and I's little jaunt out to visit some places of interest locally. As you can see, the gas turbine project is taking shape behind me there, and I hope to have a film out in the next few days to show the progress that I've made with that so far. And it's come to my attention that 88% of the people that watch my films aren't subscribed to my channel. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. It really does help me to progress the channel, and it gives me the boost I need to make new films. So all I have to say now is thank you very much for watching. Give me a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Take care.